the Bodymass YouTube page. I'm Virginia here. I'm one of the owners at Bodymass Gym, and I'm kind of doing this little prep series for those of you guys who've been following along. I am an NPC competitor. I've competed for the last, I guess I'm going on my 9th season now, mostly in figure, but I've recently switched to bikini, so I'm starting my first full season as a bikini competitor with some exciting changes. If you guys are new here and you want to continue to follow along with these videos as I prep for the 2021 season, go ahead and hit subscribe so that way you can be alerted of every time we've got these new videos coming up. And I'd love to hear in the comments section any other videos that you'd like to see. So whether it's eating, training, just kind of day in the life of, I'd love to hear what you guys want for these prep videos. Today I'm going to be talking about working with a coach. So I've competed, as I said, going on my 9th season now, and at various points I've trained myself. My husband Chris has trained me. I've worked with some of the best coaches in the industry. I've worked with some local kind of not so well-known coaches. So it's definitely been an experience. I'll walk you guys through a little bit of what the last 9 years have looked like, and then at the end let you know who I'm working with for the 2021 season and why I chose that coach. Even prior to competing, I'd been a trainer for about 8 years. So I'd already been working with clients towards any type of aesthetic or physique related goals that they have. So it's something that I was familiar with, but taking the next step to compete required a whole different approach. It no longer was just eat to lose body fat and work out to lose body fat. It was trying to look a very specific way for a very specific moment in time on stage. So flashback nearly 10 years ago. So in late 2011, I decided that I wanted to compete. And in January 2012, I kind of made that my New Year's resolution and my goal. So I knew if I wanted to compete that I needed to hire a coach for 2 different reasons. Number one, I needed accountability. I needed somebody to make sure I was doing what it was that I was supposed to be doing. And number 2, guidance. I needed somebody who could walk me through the process of competing. It no longer was just trying to achieve an aesthetic goal, but it was for the purpose of stepping on stage, competing, and doing well. So 2012 was my first year competing. I hired a local figure prep coach. She was located in the town next to us in Alexandria, Virginia. And I hired her, I can't remember, I think I just Googled like competition prep coach in the area or something. I met with her at a Starbucks right next to the Washington Sports Club I was working at. And she had asked me what division I wanted to compete in and what athletes I admired and looked up to. So told her that I liked the look of Nicole Wilkins, and she goes, great, NPC Figure, that's what you're gonna do. So in 2012, I worked with the same coach for the 3 shows I did. I did 2 local level shows and 1 national level show. She was great. She gave me the guidance that I needed during this time. But at the same time, I started to work with Chris, and Chris had asked me multiple times why she was having me do certain type of workouts and why she was having me eat certain types of food. And I didn't know the answer. I said, well, that's because she told me to. So I'm doing what she told me to. So in 2013, Chris said to me, and this was the very start when we first started dating, he said, why don't you let me prep you? So I said, okay. So his mindset was completely different, focused on bulking at the start, putting on muscle, and he coached me through all of 2013 and the start of 2014. I found that there's really 2 different reasons I have for competing, and at various points in my career, I've competed for different reasons. So one is fun, it gives me a task, it gives me a goal to work towards, it gives me a chance to step on stage, and I love the whole process of competing, and I'm not overly invested in it. So for me, when I was starting out competing, it was just for fun, gave me something to do. I didn't know how serious I would be. The second reason to competing is to really be competitive and do whatever it takes to try to win, to try to earn first place, get my pro card, whatever that next step is. And at various points in my career, this has been my sole focus, is do whatever it takes to be as good as possible. And throughout the 9 years of my career, I've kind of alternated between the 2. Sometimes my goal is just have fun, step on stage, enjoy the process, and at some points it's to be as competitive as possible and really do my best. I found at that point, when I really want to be as competitive as possible and do my best, I need to hire a coach who can get me to that next level. So in 2014, I did the Arnold Amateur early on in that year. Chris had coached me for it. And when I was backstage, I had met a girl named Andressa Ribeiro. She lived in Florida, but she was Brazilian. And, you know, talked to her backstage. We were in different height classes, but I didn't realize how good of an athlete she was until she stepped on stage and I saw her physique on stage, and she looked phenomenal and won her height class, and she actually ended up winning the Arnold Amateur Figure overall in 2014 and earned her pro card. So when I was backstage and talking to her, she told me that her coach also trained Candice Keene, who, if you guys have been following the sport for a while, had been a top 3 Olympian for years and years, and actually ended up winning the 2014 Arnold Classic in figure in the pro division. And so my gears were turning, and I said, well, if your coach trains Candice, who won the pro division, and your coach trains you, who won the amateur division, I want to take this serious and I want to work with your coach. So I asked her for her coach's information. Jamie Iboni, Ironclad Physique, he's based out of Florida. And I gave him a call and told him, you know, I know you train these great competitors. I want to be your next great competitor. Let me work with you. So shortly after the 2014 Arnold, I started working with Jamie Iboni, and he was great. He really was able to bring my physique to a totally next level. Chris had never trained competitors before, so while he did a great job, it's different when your significant other is coaching you, and it's also different when you have somebody who's done years and years and years of prep coaching versus just training more general population clients. So he was able to really alter my physique and how I looked. So I worked with Jamie for all of 2014 and all of 2015 season. I ended up doing 4 national shows with him. 4, I did NPC Universe, did North Americans, Nationals, and Junior USAs. So I did 4 shows with him. So it was a great experience. I loved my physique and how I was looking. I thought he was really able to bring me to that next level in figure where I was competitive on a national stage. After working with Jamie throughout 2014, 2015, I really had made improvements in my physique, but I was still frustrated. I was still not earning my pro card. I was putting in the effort and trying to take it to the next step, and I felt a little stagnant. So at the end of the 2015 season, we were getting ready to open Bodymass in January 2016. So I kind of put all my efforts towards Bodymass and work and kind of made that my primary focus. But you know, couldn't stay away from the sport for that long. So by March 2016, I'd kind of thought back to nationals that I had done at the end of 2014. And one of the girls who competed at that show that won my height class had worked with Shelby Starnes, and he posted her transformation, her 8-week transformation on his Instagram in the sport of bodybuilding. Shelby Starnes is one of the best coaches. He primarily coaches female bodybuilders and women's physique competitors, but he also has a bunch of figure competitors. So after a few months of not competing and thinking I was gonna kind of give it a break, I decided to reach out to him and thought to myself, you know, if I can give it my all in a prep with the best coach in the sport, someone who I respected and looked up to, it would really give me a chance to kind of see what my potential was in the women's figure division. So 16-week prep with Shelby was completely different than anything I had done before. He had me eating significantly different, way higher carbs, kind of moderate proteins, lower fat. And 8 weeks into our prep, like, I was ready to step on stage. I was just eager for NPC Universe to arrive. But what I found is continually throughout working with Shelby and throughout the prep is how communicative he was. Every single check-in, he was right there with a response, ready to go. I even learned that the day I was competing at NPC Universe, he was also competing in the Chicago Wings of Strength Pro Show. So he was literally backstage at his show, sending me information on my check-ins, on my updates, telling me what to eat, what to drink, what to do. And I realized that I truly value that communication in a coach. So NPC Universe rolls around. by far the best physique I'd ever had in figure, and while I still got first callouts, I still couldn't crack the top 5. And it kind of brought me to a point of realization is, you know, it was a financial commitment, it was a huge time commitment, and I felt like I was continually fighting this uphill battle in figure that my body just wasn't quite cut out for. So after 2016 NPC Universe, I kind of revamped my thought process and thought, you know, should I compete in a natural federation in figure? Should I switch to bikini? Should I stop competing overall? And it kind of gave me some time to step back and think a little bit. If you guys haven't watched my video from last year, I'll link it down below. But basically, I just go through exactly why I switched from figure to bikini. So it's basically everything I just said, but in a way more elaborate manner. So if you're interested in learning why I made that switch, check out that video. By the time 2017 rolled around, I decided I wanted to get back to competing for fun. I decided to do a local show in Baltimore, compete in figure. I prepped and trained myself. I wasn't overly intense with it. I wanted to enjoy the process. And I decided just for the hell of it that I would try to do women's physique, mostly because I wanted to do a routine. I wanted to get on stage, do something fun. I know my structure isn't built for women's physique, but I figured why not? So in 2017, I did the Baltimore show, and you know, it was just fun to get on stage. It was fun to compete again. But after that, I kind of realized, like, okay, you know, I'm not totally cut out for figure. I'm definitely not cut out for women's physique. Really, what is it that I want to do, and how can I take myself to the next level? So after competing just for fun in 2017, I kind of was feeling discouraged with the sport and realized maybe I wasn't totally cut out for it. And then I went to the Olympia in 2019 with one of my friends, and it just kind of rekindled my passion for the sport. She's really into the bikini division, and so that encouraged me to think, you know, why not? Let's check out bikini. Let's see if I'm cut out for it. Let's see if I like it, and we'll see what happens. So in 2020, I decided I wanted to compete in bikini, and as we all know what happened, the pandemic hit, threw things for a loop. I was 10 days out from my show when it got canceled because of the pandemic. So needless to say, it was a weird adventure in 2020. I coached myself, again, going back to what I was saying before, because I just wanted to do it for fun. I wanted to see if I liked competing in bikini. I wanted to see if I could do okay in bikini before making the time and financial commitment to hiring a coach. All right, so this is the moment everybody's been waiting for of who I'm working with for 2021. So there were a couple of coaches I've reached out to. So as you guys can kind of tell by my trend in working with coaches, I try to find who is the top tier coach and seek them out and see if they're the right fit for me. Jamie was great to work with. Shelby was great to work with. But again, as I transitioned to bikini, I wanted to work with a coach that was a little bit more into training bikini competitors versus figure competitors. So there's two different coaches who I reached out to. Both have Olympia level athletes, top tier Olympia level, Arnold level athletes, bikini competitors, and turn girls pro really quickly. So I reached out to both of them. The first team I reached out to, I really liked the caliber of athletes they were turning out. They had really great competitors. You could tell they took the prep process very seriously. But when I was competing at North Americans, I was riding in the elevator with one of the head coaches, and one of his athletes, he had posted her all over Instagram. You know, he's proud of her. She was doing great. She had just missed her pro card at the previous national show. So here we are, North Americans, wins her height class and earns her pro card, which is a phenomenal accomplishment. She's plastered all over his social media, right, like as she should be for that accomplishment. So he was in the elevator talking to someone else, and I overheard him talk about this athlete who just earned her pro card in just a very disrespectful manner. Not about her as an athlete, but just her as a person, and he didn't even use her name. One of his top level athletes didn't even use her name, and it was in that instant, in that 10-second elevator ride, that I knew I could not work with that coach. I did not want to work with a coach who couldn't treat his athletes, his competitors as people, but rather just a placing and, behind closed elevator doors, talk disrespectfully about them. So that quickly narrowed my search down to the other coach that I had been emailing and was interested in working with. So I've decided to work with Paul Ravila and Team Pro Physique. They're based out of Florida, but there's a few reasons why I chose to work with Paul and Team Pro Physique. So as you guys know, I love Core Nutritionals, supplement brand that's local to the DC area. I've been taking their supplements for years. I love their entire team of people. I love the quality of their product and the brand they stand for. And Paul has worked really closely with Core Nutritionals, and he's been a Core Nutritionals, I think, athlete, maybe some connection of sponsorship with Core Nutritionals for years and years, and I think that connection speaks volumes. If I trust Core Nutritionals and Core Nutritionals trust Paul, I trust Paul. Even without having met him, just the people you're associated with really speak a lot about who you are as a person. So it's through that connection with Core Nutritionals, and I'd spoken with some people that I know over there and asked their feedback and input. Of course, they had great things to say about Paul. But upon my first email with Paul, he said, hey, let's get on the phone, let's talk a little bit more. And he was really open to wanting to get to know me as a person, as an athlete, what my history with competing had been, what my goals are for this year. And it really felt like he was trying to work with me as a person versus just, spitting out some information and trying to change my physique and put me on stage and just kind of get to an end result. So it's been about 2 months that I've been working with him. I'm absolutely loving it. I go weekly check-ins with him. He does my training. He does my nutrition. There's a whole bunch of new stuff that I've really never done when working with a coach before, especially as it relates to nutrition. So I'll be sharing that in an upcoming video. So stay tuned on kind of my prep nutrition with Paul. But so far, nothing but great things to say about him as a person, as a coach, about the caliber of athletes he puts out. I mean, if you guys follow him at all, you see he really turns out some great bikini competitors. So we're early on in this process, but I couldn't be more excited for what the future has.